On Christmas, my daughter-in-law screamed at me in front of the entire family, asking where I had hidden myself, calling me a useless old woman. She said my family had been hungry for an hour and that I was not even capable of setting the table. They laughed. They had no idea what was waiting for them that night. My name is Eleanor, and I am 68 years old. And on that Christmas night in 2023, while 40 people laughed in my own living room, watching my daughter-in-law humiliate me, I did not shed a single tear. Do you know why? Because I had been waiting for that exact moment for 6 months. Let me explain something about silence. It does not always mean weakness. Sometimes, silence is the sound of a woman planning her master stroke. But before I tell you how I turned the tables that night, I need you to understand how I ended up standing in the doorway of my own kitchen. I was wearing my apron embroidered with sunflowers, watching my son Lucas look away while his wife, Tiffany, tore me apart in front of everyone. The air smelled of eggnog and cinnamon. There were Christmas lights hanging from every corner of the house. The dining room table, that mahogany table I bought with my own hands 30 years ago, was set for 40 guests. Burgundy tablecloths, the china I inherited from my mother, napkins folded into flower shapes. Everything was perfect. Everything was calculated. Tiffany was standing next to the Christmas tree, wearing that fitted red dress that showed off every curve. Her straight black hair fell like curtains over her shoulders. Gold heels, French perfume that cost more than a school teacher's monthly salary. The pearl earrings that Lucas gave her. With my money, of course. She looked at me with those satisfied cat eyes and threw the words out like knives. Where did you go, you useless old woman? My family has been here for an hour starving, and you are not even good for setting the table. If this story is stirring something inside you, subscribe to the channel so you can continue to hear stories like this one, about women who refuse to be stepped on. The silence lasted barely 3 seconds. Then came the laughter. My niece Ashley was the first. That fake, uncomfortable laugh of someone who wants to look good with the person in power. Then Tiffany's sister, Brittany. Then Lucas's cousins, one by one, like dominoes falling. 40 people, in my house, laughing at me. Lucas, my son, my only son, the boy I raised alone after his father died. That 42-year-old man, who once defended me from everything, was sitting in the main armchair with a glass of whiskey in his hand. He did not even look me in the eye. Jessica, my daughter, the youngest, was leaning against the back wall. I saw her exchange a conspiratorial smile with Tiffany, my own blood. Do you know what hurt the most? It was not the words. It was not the laughter. It was seeing the face of my granddaughter Chloe, barely 20 years old, sitting on the stairs with tears held back in her eyes. She knew. She had been the only one to warn me 6 months ago. Grandma, that woman does not love you. She is studying you. But I, foolish me, thought I could change things with love, with patience, with hot food and open doors. How wrong I was. Tiffany took 2 steps toward me. Her heels sounded like hammer blows against the hardwood floor. What? Are you not going to say anything? Or are you too useless to even defend yourself now? Everyone expected me to do the usual. Lower my head, apologize, run to the kitchen to serve dinner, be the nice lady, the noble grandma, the invisible woman who exists only to give. But that night, something in my chest settled differently. I looked up. I looked her straight in the eye, and for the first time in 6 months of enduring her snubs, her orders, her insults at 6 in the morning demanding coffee, for the first time, I smiled. It was not a kind smile. It was not a tender grandmother smile. It was the smile of a woman who knows exactly what is going to happen in the next 2 hours. You are right, Tiffany, I said with a calmness that surprised even me. It has been a long time since I have been of any use. She liked the comment. I saw how her mouth curled in victory. But tonight, I continued walking slowly toward the center of the living room. We are going to change that. I pulled a remote control out of my apron pocket, a small, black one that no one noticed. Tonight, everyone is going to see what I am actually good for. I pressed the button. The big screen television turned on. And there, in high definition, a video began to play that none of them expected. Tiffany's face changed color, from golden to white to green in a matter of seconds, because what everyone was watching was her. 3 days ago, in that same living room, telling her sister on the phone, "Relax, Brittany. In 6 months maximum, the old woman kicks the bucket or we put her in a nursing home. This house is worth about $800,000. When it is ours, we sell it and go to Miami." Lucas already signed the papers. The idiot does not read anything I put in front of him. The silence that fell in that room was so thick you could cut it with a knife. And I, standing in the middle of everyone, with my sunflower apron and my 68-year-old wrinkled hands, thought only one thing. "Now, honey, now we are going to see who is useless. What do you think happened next? I warn you. What is coming is much stronger than you imagine." The screen was still on, but no one moved. It was as if I had thrown a bucket of ice water in their faces. I need you to understand something. I was not born in a pretty house in the suburbs. I did not inherit anything. I did not marry a rich man. Everything you see here, every brick, every piece of furniture, every single dollar in the bank, I built myself, with these hands that now tremble from arthritis, but once sewed until they bled. I arrived in Chicago in 1980. I had just turned 25, had a cardboard suitcase, and $300 in my pocket. I came from a small town in rural Kentucky, a place where jobs were scarce and dreams starved to death before you turned 15. My mother hugged me at the Greyhound bus station and told me something I never forgot. "Eleanor, in this life, no one is going to give you anything for free, but do not let them take what is yours either." I did not understand her words then. I was young, naive. I believed that hard work and kindness were enough. How wrong I was. I got a job at a clothing factory in the garment district. 12 hours a day from Monday to Saturday, $200 a week. I slept in a small room shared with 4 other women. The bathroom was down the hall. In winter, the water came out so cold it cut your skin. But I saved. Every dollar I did not spend on the bus, I saved. Every meal I did not buy at the corner diner, I made myself. Every blouse I did not buy, I sewed with scraps from the factory. In 1985, a neighbor told me they were selling a small plot of land in a developing suburb. $45,000. It was an absurdity for me, but I gathered everything I had, borrowed what was missing, and bought it. People made fun of me. "Why do you want land if you do not even have a house?" I did not answer them. I just worked harder. 2 years later, that land was worth triple. I sold it. I bought 2 smaller fixer-uppers in a different neighborhood. I sold them in 1992. I bought a bigger one in a nicer area. Do you see the pattern? I was not smart because I had studied at Ivy League universities. I was smart because I knew something many forget. Silence allows you to observe, and observing allows you to learn. I met William in 1987. A good, hard-working man, a carpenter by trade. We got married at the courthouse with 2 witnesses and a meal at a local diner. No big parties, no expensive white dresses. William never knew about the money I was saving. Not because I did not trust him, but because something in my chest told me, "This is yours, Eleanor, your life raft." We had Lucas in 1991, Jessica in 1995. We lived in a small but dignified apartment. William made beautiful furniture. I kept sewing at night after the children were asleep, and I kept buying properties. One here, another there, always with deeds in my name, always in silence. When William died in 2015 from a sudden heart attack, my world split in 2. He was my partner for 28 years, the father of my children, the man who held me at night when I cried from exhaustion. At his funeral, Lucas hugged me and said, "Mom, do not worry. I am going to take care of you always." What irony. What no one knew, not even my children, was that by then, I already had 7 properties in my name, valued, altogether, at more than $4 million. I lived in this house in the suburbs that I bought in 1998. The other 6 I rented out. The money came in quietly, month after month, to an account that only I managed. Why did I not tell my children anything? Because my mother was right. In this life, people change when they smell money. And I wanted to know who loved me. Eleanor, the woman from Kentucky who made biscuits from scratch every Sunday. I did not want to know who would love Eleanor, the owner of $4 million. For years, My children believed I lived off their father's social security and some small savings. I helped them when they needed it. For Lucas's college tuition, for Jessica's car, for the down payment on my granddaughter Chloe's apartment. But I never gave them everything. I never opened the door completely. And thank God I did not. Because in 2018, when Lucas arrived at my house with Tiffany on his arm, I saw something in that woman's eyes that I recognized immediately. Hunger. Not hunger for food. Hunger for possession, for control, for money that did not belong to her. Tiffany came into my life like mold comes into walls. Slowly, silently, rotting everything from the inside. And I, who had spent 40 years building my empire in silence, made the biggest mistake of my life. I opened the door for her, because what I did not know then was that Tiffany was not looking for a family. She was looking for a jackpot. The first time I saw Tiffany was a Sunday in March. Lucas brought her to lunch without warning. I had been in the kitchen making a pot roast since 7 in the morning. The smell of beef, carrots, and onions filled the whole house. I was wearing my usual apron, my hair in a braid, my hands stained with flour. I heard the door open and Lucas's voice. "Mom, I want to introduce you to someone." I walked out, wiping my hands on my apron. And there she was. Tiffany was about 5'9", thin, but that kind of thin you get from an expensive gym and a private nutritionist. Tanned skin without a mark, shiny black hair that reached her waist. She was wearing white jeans that looked painted on her legs, a peach-colored silk blouse, and high-heeled sandals that cost, easily, $300. But it was not her clothes that caught my attention. It was her eyes. Green like jade. Beautiful, yes, but cold, calculating. The kind of eyes that measure, weigh, appraise. She looked me up and down in less than 2 seconds. I saw her gaze stop on my old apron, on my cheap slippers, on my wrinkled hands, and I saw her smile. It was not a genuine smile. It was the smile of someone who just confirmed something they already suspected. "Nice to meet you, ma'am," she said in a soft, almost childish voice. "Lucas has told me so much about you." She extended her hand. Perfectly manicured. French tips, silver rings on 3 fingers. "The pleasure is mine, honey," I replied, shaking her hand. Cold. Her hand was cold like marble. Lucas was radiant. His eyes shone in a way I had not seen since he was a teenager. He was in love, madly in love. "Mom, Tiffany is an accountant. She works at an international firm. She travels a lot. She is incredible." Tiffany lowered her eyes with fake modesty. "Oh, babe, do not exaggerate. I just do my job." They sat in the living room. I served coffee and apple pie I had made the day before. Tiffany rejected everything with a delicate smile. "I am watching my figure, ma'am. But it looks delicious." During the meal, I observed. Tiffany talked a lot, but said little. She told stories about trips to Cancun, to Cabo, to Miami. She mentioned expensive restaurants, 5-star hotels, brands I did not even know. But every 5 minutes, she asked questions. "And is this house only yours, ma'am? Have you lived here long? Is the furniture antique? It looks valuable. And Lucas told me you worked as a seamstress? What a sacrifice, right? But surely you saved well for your retirement." Questions wrapped in velvet. But questions nonetheless. Lucas did not realize. He was too busy looking at her as if she were an angel sent from heaven. I answered with vague statements. I smiled, I nodded. But inside, my survival instinct, the one that kept me alive for 40 years in this city, was screaming. After lunch, Tiffany asked to use the restroom. She took 15 minutes. When she returned, she had been on the 2nd floor. I know because I saw she had a piece of lint on her shoulder. From the carpet in the upstairs hallway, the one I had not vacuumed in 2 days, she was exploring, measuring, calculating. 3 months later, Lucas announced the engagement. They were getting married in December. Jessica, my daughter, hugged her happily. "Finally, you are going to have a daughter-in-law." It was about time Lucas settled down. I smiled. I congratulated Tiffany. I gave her a hug that she received with the stiffness of someone hugging a mannequin. But that night, alone in my bedroom, I sat in front of the vanity that had belonged to my mother. I looked at myself in the mirror. The wrinkles around my eyes, the gray hairs, I no longer bothered to dye. The hands that told stories of decades of work. And I asked myself if I was becoming paranoid. If I was inventing problems where there were none. If the problem was me, a bitter old woman who did not want to see her son happy. But then I remembered something. When Tiffany used my bathroom, I had left my purse on the dining table. When she returned, the purse was slightly moved, just a few inches. I checked later. No money was missing. But someone had checked how much cash I was carrying. And in that moment, I knew my instinct had not failed me. Tiffany had not come to fall in love with my son. She had come to take inventory. The wedding was in December of 2018. In an elegant garden venue, 150 guests, live band, 3-course meal, open bar, all paid for by Tiffany's parents. Supposedly. I say supposedly, because 2 weeks before the wedding, Lucas arrived at my house with a look on his face I had never seen. Nervous, sweating, moving his hands nonstop. "Mom, I need to ask you a favor." I sat across from him at the kitchen table. I poured him some chamomile tea to calm him down. "Tell me, son, what is wrong?" "Tiffany's parents had a problem with the bank. They cannot cover everything for the wedding. I need $50,000. My blood ran cold. $50,000? Lucas, that is. "I know, Mom, I know. But we already have everything contracted. The deposits are down. If we do not pay, we lose everything." "And Tiffany?" His voice broke. "Tiffany has been dreaming of this wedding since she was a little girl." I looked him in the eye. "My son, the boy I raised alone after his father died, the teenager who helped me with the grocery shopping, the young man who hugged me when William died and promised to take care of me always. Where was that man?" "Lucas, $50,000 is a lot of money. I live off your dad's pension and, please, Mom, I will pay you back. I will sign a promissory note, whatever you want, but help me." He had tears in his eyes. And I, foolish me, gave in. I gave him the money, from my savings, from that cushion I had built dollar by dollar. He did not sign any note. "No need, Mom. We are family." The wedding was spectacular. Tiffany looked like a princess in a dress that must have cost another $10,000. Her family arrived in brand new cars. They toasted with French champagne, and I, sitting at my table, in a simple beige dress I had bought at a department store, watched my son dance with his wife without turning to look at me a single time all night. After the wedding, things changed. Before, Lucas visited me every Sunday. We ate together. We talked about everything. He told me about his job as an engineer at a construction firm, about his projects, about his dreams. After Tiffany, the visits became spaced out. First every 2 weeks, then once a month, then only on birthdays and Christmas. And when he came, he no longer came alone. Tiffany accompanied him always, and she always had something to criticize. "Oh, ma'am, you still have those armchairs? They are really old, aren't they? This house is so dark, it needs remodeling. Have you not thought about selling and moving to a smaller place? This house is very big for a single person." Comments wrapped in fake concern, but comments that stung like wasps. Lucas never contradicted her. He laughed uncomfortably and changed the subject. One day, in May of 2019, they arrived together with a proposal. "Mom, we have been thinking," said Lucas. "This house is too big for you, and you are alone. What would you think if we moved in with you? That way we take care of you, and you help us with the rent we are paying." Tiffany smiled sweetly. My first instinct was to say no, absolutely not. But I saw the look of hope on Lucas's face. I saw my son, not the woman manipulating him. "Let me think about it," I said. That night I did not sleep. I got up at 3 in the morning, made a pot of coffee, and sat on the porch to look at the stars. I thought about loneliness, about the nights where the silence of this house weighed on me like a slab of stone, about how it would be nice to have my son close again. But I also thought about Tiffany's gaze when she looked at my things, her constant questions, how she had measured every corner of my house as if it were already hers. I should have listened to my instinct, but I chose hope. And that decision almost cost me everything. They moved in June of 2019. The first few days were tolerable. Lucas and Tiffany settled into the 2 bedrooms on the 2nd floor. I kept mine on the ground floor, so you do not have to climb stairs, ma'am, Tiffany said with that sweet little voice I was already starting to recognize as poison in disguise. The first week, Tiffany still pretended. She asked if she could use the kitchen, if she could move some furniture, if I minded if she played music. The second week she stopped asking. People started arriving at the house. Tiffany's friends, her sister Brittany, her cousin Danielle. They settled in my living room as if it were theirs. They left dirty glasses. They turned up the volume on the television. They smoked on the patio, even though I asked them 1,000 times not to. Oh, ma'am, it is just a little cigarette. Do not be dramatic. Lucas worked all day. He left at 7 in the morning. He returned at 8 at night. Tired. Dark circles under his eyes. Different. Tiffany did not work. Supposedly she was between projects, but I never saw her look for a job. What I did see her do was redecorate my house without permission. One day, I arrived from the grocery store, and my living room curtains, the ones I had sewn myself with, poinsettia patterns, were in the trash can. They were very old, ma'am, said Tiffany, pointing to some gray curtains she had bought. These are modern. They give the house more style. My hands trembled. I had made those curtains when William was still alive. I spent 3 months stitching them. Tiffany, those curtains were important to me. Oh, ma'am, do not get sentimental. They are just curtains. Besides, I already threw them out. The garbage truck passed a while ago. That night I cried in my room. I cried for those curtains. I cried because my house no longer felt like mine. But that was just the beginning. In July, Tiffany began giving me orders. Ma'am, can you make breakfast? We are going to wake up late. Ma'am, can you do the laundry? We have a lot piled up. Ma'am, I have friends coming over for lunch. Make something special. And I, to keep the peace, obeyed. I cooked, I cleaned, I washed, I ironed. I had become the maid in my own house. Lucas said nothing. When I tried to talk to him, he was too tired. Or Tiffany interrupted with some invented emergency. In August, things got worse. Tiffany started waking me up at 6 in the morning, knocking on my bedroom door. Ma'am, I need coffee. Wake up already. She took the key to one of the rooms on the 2nd floor. We are going to use it as a walk-in closet. You do not need it. That room was where I kept William's things. His tools, his clothes, our wedding photos. Tiffany, please, that room is special too. It was. Ma'am, it was special. Your husband died years ago. You have to get over it. I felt as if she had slapped me. In September, I discovered that Tiffany was going through my things. I found drawers in my desk open, papers moved, my checkbook out of place. I confronted her. Were you looking through my papers? Of course not, ma'am. What things are you saying? You must be confused. At your age, it is normal. At your age, as if I were a senile old woman imagining things. But I was not confused. And that same day, I made a decision. I called my granddaughter Chloe, the only person in the family I still trusted. Chloe, I need you to help me, but no one can know. Not your mom, not your uncle, no one. What is wrong, Grandma? I need you to teach me how to use security cameras, the tiny ones they sell on the internet. Chloe arrived 2 days later. We went to an electronics store downtown. We bought 6 small cameras, the size of buttons, and a recording system that connected to a tablet. Are you sure about this, Grandma? More sure than ever, honey. We installed them in the living room, the kitchen, the dining room, and the 2nd floor hallway. Hidden on shelves, behind books, in plants. Tiffany and Lucas never noticed. And then I started recording. Everything. Every comment, every insult, every conversation Tiffany had on the phone when she thought I was not there. For 6 months I kept evidence. 6 months of humiliations that I documented, one by one. Because something told me I was going to need them. And I was right. October arrived with cold rain and the smell of wet earth. But that month brought no nostalgia. It brought the most painful truth I have ever faced in my life. One Tuesday afternoon, my phone rang. It was Mr. Henderson, my estate attorney for 30 years, a 72-year-old man. One of those who still wears a suit and tie every day and who never drinks coffee without offering you some first. Eleanor, I need to see you. It is urgent. The tone of his voice chilled my skin. We met the next day at his office in the historic district. An office like the old ones, with books up to the ceiling and the smell of old paper. Mr. Henderson closed the door and offered me a seat. Eleanor, I received a transfer request yesterday for 2 of your properties, the one in the Lincoln Park area and the one downtown. My breath caught. What? Someone submitted documents to transfer those properties with your signature and your official seal. Mr. Henderson, I have not signed anything. I know. That is why I called you. He handed me a folder. Review this. I opened the folder with trembling hands. There were official documents, powers of attorney, transfer requests, and finally, documents that I had supposedly signed authorizing the transfer of 2 properties valued at more than $1.5 million. To the name of Lucas Smith and Tiffany Miller Smith, the signature looked like mine. It was not perfect, but it looked like it. Forgery, said Mr. Henderson, and it is not their first attempt. 2 months ago, someone came asking about all your properties. A young woman, long hair, very dressed up. Tiffany. She did not tell me her name, but asked how many properties you had, where they were, how much they were worth. I told her that information was confidential. She got upset, said she was family and had a right to know. I felt dizzy. I had to hold on to the desk. Mr. Henderson poured me water. Eleanor, this is fraud. It is a felony. I can block these transfers immediately and file a report, but I need you to tell me, who has access to your seals? To your documents? I did not need to think about it. My daughter-in-law. She lives in my house. Does your son know about this? That was the question that broke me. Because the documents had his name. He was going to receive the properties. My son, my blood, the person I carried in my womb, the boy I nursed, the teenager I defended against everything. He was trying to rob me. I do not know, I whispered. I do not know. Mr. Henderson put his wrinkled hand over mine. Eleanor, I am going to freeze all your assets legally. No transfer can be made without your physical presence and an official ID verified by me personally. Do you agree? Yes. And do you need to get that woman out of your house? Today. Now. I cannot. Lucas is an adult man. And if he is involved in this, then he already made his decision. I left that office in shock. I walked through the streets downtown aimlessly. I passed by the old courthouse, by the rushing crowds. Everything looked blurry. How had it come to this? How could my son, try to rob me? I arrived home at 7 in the evening. Tiffany and Lucas were eating dinner in the living room watching television. Dirty plates on my coffee table. Laughter. Tranquility. As if they had not just tried to destroy my life. Ma'am, good thing you are here, said Tiffany, without turning to look at me. You forgot to buy bread. We had to order a pizza. Lucas did not look at me either. I went up to my room. I locked the door, and for the first time in my life, I felt real fear being in my own house. That night I reviewed the camera recordings. I found what I was looking for. 3 weeks ago, a Saturday when I had gone to the market, Tiffany had entered my room. The cameras caught her opening my desk, taking documents, photographing them with her cell phone. And there was more. 2 days later, Tiffany on the phone with her sister Brittany. I have all the papers, sister. The lawyer is a stubborn old man, but we will find another one. In 6 months maximum we have the properties. The old woman will not even realize until it is too late. And then, the worst part. Lucas entering the room while Tiffany organized the stolen documents. Are you sure this is going to work? My son asked. Trust me, baby. Your mom is old. She is not going to check anything. And when she does, it will be too late. These properties are worth a fortune. We can sell, invest, go live wherever we want. And if she gets mad, it is my mom. Your mom will understand. And if not, well, that is life, right? Eventually, everything will be yours anyway. We are just speeding things up. Lucas nodded. My son nodded. I cried until I had no tears left. Because that night I lost something more valuable than any property. I lost my son, and it was then that I decided that if they were going to destroy me, I was going to make sure they regretted it every day for the rest of their lives. November turned my life into a different hell. One where I was not only a prisoner in my house, but also in my own family. Because Tiffany is cunning, very cunning. She was not satisfied with manipulating Lucas. She needed the whole family on her side, and she achieved it. The first Sunday of November, Jessica, my daughter, arrived for breakfast. I had not seen her in months. She entered with Tiffany as if they were lifelong friends, laughing, sharing gossip. She hugged me without enthusiasm. "Hi, Mom. How are you?" "Good, honey. Nice to see you." I made pancakes, scrambled eggs, fresh coffee. The table smelled of maple syrup and bacon, like when Jessica was a child and we ate breakfast together on Sundays before church. But that morning, Jessica barely took a bite. "Mom, Tiffany told me you have been very difficult lately." I left the fork on the plate. "Difficult?" "Yes. She says you get mad about everything, that you do not let them live in peace anymore, that you are very—" She paused uncomfortably. "Very controlling." I looked at Tiffany. She lowered her gaze with a sad smile, perfectly rehearsed. "I have not said that, Jessica. I only commented that the lady is going through a complicated stage. It is normal at her age. My grandmother also got very difficult before." She left the sentence hanging. But the message was clear. "Before we put her in a home, Mom," continued Jessica, "I think you should consider, I don't know, maybe selling this house. It is very big for you, and with the money you could go to a more comfortable place, smaller, more appropriate." "More appropriate for what?" "For your age." There it was again. My age as an excuse for everything. "This is my house, Jessica. I bought it with my work. I am not going to sell it." "Oh, Mom, always so stubborn." Jessica stood up. "Well, I am just suggesting it. Think about it. Lucas and Tiffany could take charge of the sale. They would save you the stress." "Sure, how convenient." After that day, family visits multiplied. But not to see me, to judge me. My niece Ashley would arrive with her husband. They sat in my living room. They spoke in hushed tones. They looked at me out of the corner of their eyes. "She looks so lost, poor thing. Have you seen how she is dressed? All disheveled." Tiffany told us that sometimes she forgets things. The other day she left the stove on. Lies. All lies. But Tiffany planted them carefully, one here, another there, until the whole family started seeing me as a senile old woman who needed the control of her life taken away. At family gatherings, they excluded me from conversations. They talked about me in the third person as if I were not present. And what are we going to do with her? Well, someone has to make decisions. She cannot keep living alone. Technically, she does not live alone. Lucas is there, but he works a lot. It is Tiffany who really takes care of her. Tiffany, the saint. Tiffany, the martyr. Tiffany, who had left her career to take care of her sick mother-in-law. Sick with what? With dignity? One afternoon, Jessica arrived with papers. "Mom, Tiffany and I thought it would be good if you gave power of attorney to Lucas in case something happens, so he can manage your things." "My things?" "Your accounts, Mom. Your bills. We do not want you to forget to pay something and have the power cut off. Or the water." The manipulation was so blatant I almost wanted to laugh. "I am not going to sign that, Jessica." "Mom, do not be stubborn. It is for your own good." I said no. Jessica sighed with exasperation. As if I were a bratty child. "Fine. But when you need help, do not say we did not offer it." She left, slamming the door. The loneliness I felt that night was absolute. It was not just being physically alone. It was knowing that my own family had abandoned me, that they saw me as a nuisance, as a bank account with legs. I sat on the porch, under the oak tree William planted 20 years ago. The dry leaves fell on the floor like tears. And for the first time in my life, I considered giving up. Giving them what they wanted, signing the papers, going to a small apartment, disappearing from their lives so they could divide my assets in peace. It would be easier, less painful, but then my phone rang. It was Chloe. "Grandma, are you okay? You haven't answered my messages for days." Her voice. The voice of the only person who still saw me as Eleanor, not as an obstacle. "Yes, honey. I am fine. I do not believe you. Your voice sounds weird. Can I come see you?" "No, honey. It is late. Then I will see you tomorrow." Without fail, She hung up before I could protest. The next day, Chloe arrived at 10 in the morning with a bag full of bagels and muffins from the corner bakery. "We are going to have breakfast together, Grandma. Like before." I made hot chocolate. We sat in the kitchen, and for the first time in months I felt human again. "Grandma, you have to get out of this," said Chloe after I told her everything. "You cannot let them step on you." "I am already very tired, honey." "That is exactly why. Because if you give up now, they will have won. And you are not one of those who give up. You are the woman who arrived from Kentucky with nothing and built an empire. Or have you forgotten?" She was right. That afternoon I went up to the attic, a place where I had not been in years. I searched through old boxes until I found what I needed. A rusty tin box where I kept memories of my youth. Inside were photos. Me at 25, just arrived in the city. Thin, scared, but with fire in my eyes. Letters I wrote to myself when I was alone and broken. And a garnet necklace that had belonged to my mother. I held it in my hands. It weighed little, but represented so much. My mother wore it all her life. It was the only thing of value she had. And before dying, she gave it to me with a message. "When you feel lost, remember where you come from." I put on the necklace, the cold stones against my skin, and I remembered who I was before being a mother. Before being a grandmother, before being the old woman everyone wanted to rob. I was Eleanor, the woman who survived, and that woman was not going to let herself be destroyed without a fight. December arrived with a clarity I had not felt in months. I was no longer scared. I was no longer sad. I was ready. On December 10th, Tiffany announced she wanted to host a big Christmas dinner to unite the family, ma'am. You know, after so much tension. Lucas supported the idea immediately. "Yes, Mom. It would be nice to have everyone here, like before. Like before. As if nothing had happened. What do you think if we invite the whole family?" Tiffany suggested. "Jessica, the aunts and uncles, the cousins, about 40 people. We can make a spectacular dinner." She looked at me expecting resistance, expecting me to say no, that it was too much work, that I did not want to, but I smiled. "Sounds perfect to me." Tiffany blinked, surprised. "Seriously?" "Yes. It has been years since we have had a big reunion. It will be beautiful." And I meant it, because I had plans too. The following days I worked like I had not done in years. But not just cooking. I called Mr. Henderson, my attorney. I asked him to come to the dinner, as a guest. I told him. He understood. I called his partner, a lawyer named Mr. Davis, a serious man of 50, specialized in family law. I invited him too. I contacted my accountant, Mr. Reynolds. I asked him to prepare a complete summary of all my properties with their updated values. And I asked Chloe to help me with something very specific. Edit 6 months of recordings into a single video. The strongest moments, the clearest insults, the most revealing conversations. We worked in secret, in her apartment. While Tiffany and Lucas thought I was buying Christmas gifts, December 24th dawned cold but clear. The sky was that intense blue you only see in winter. I started cooking at 6 in the morning. Roast turkey with apple and walnut stuffing, glazed ham, mashed potatoes with gravy, green bean casserole, apple salad, eggnog simmering on the stove. The kitchen smelled like glory, like spices, cinnamon, love made into food. Tiffany came down at 11. "Is everything ready, ma'am?" "Almost. Just need to set the table." "And why haven't you set it? People arrive at 8. I took a deep breath. "I will set it now." I took out the burgundy tablecloths, the good china, the crystal glasses I had inherited from my grandmother. Everything shone. I decorated the dining room with natural pine branches and gold ornaments. I lit candles that smelled of vanilla. I placed name cards at each spot. Mr. Henderson and Mr. Davis would have seats of honor near me. At 7 in the evening, people started arriving. Jessica with her family, Ashley with her husband, the cousins, the uncles, Tiffany and Lucas's friends. Everyone brought gifts. Everyone smiled. Everyone congratulated Tiffany for organizing this beautiful gathering. No one congratulated me for cooking for 3 days, but it did not matter, because I knew what was coming. At 8 sharp, when everyone was settled with glasses of eggnog in their hands, Tiffany stood in the middle of the living room. "Well, family, before dinner, We want to thank you for being here. This year has been complicated, but we are happy to have this opportunity to be together. Applause. Smiles. I was in the kitchen doorway, wearing my sunflower apron, watching. And we want to thank especially Mom Eleanor, continued Tiffany with a honeyed voice, for opening her house to us, for receiving us, she paused dramatically, for trying to help in what she can. Uncomfortable giggles. Although we have to be honest, Tiffany continued. Lately she has been a little absent-minded, lost. The other day she forgot to close the refrigerator door, and yesterday she left the water faucet running. More laughter, now less uncomfortable, crueler. That is why Lucas and I think maybe it is time that someone else makes important decisions, for her own good. Jessica nodded. Ashley too. Everyone looking at me with pity. Tiffany walked toward me. So ma'am, where is the dinner? We are all hungry. Or did you forget to cook too? And then she said it, with that poisonous smile. Where did you go, you useless old woman? My family has been here for an hour starving, and you are not even good for setting the table. Silence. Then the laughter. Nervous at first, louder, later. Lucas looked at the floor. Jessica laughed, covering her mouth. And I smiled, because the moment had arrived. I walked slowly toward the center of the living room. My steps sounded loud against the hardwood floor. Everyone looked at me, expecting me to lower my head, to apologize, to run to serve dinner like the good little old lady I was supposed to be. But I took a small remote control out of my apron. You are right about something, Tiffany, I said with a clear voice, clearer than I had spoken in months. It has been a long time since I have been of any use. Tiffany smiled victoriously. But tonight, I continued, that is going to change. Tonight everyone is going to discover what I am actually good for. I pressed the button on the remote. The big screen television turned on. The one Lucas had installed last year to watch movies as a family. The image appeared in high definition. It was the interior of my house, the living room. The date in the corner, December 21st, 3 days ago. Tiffany was sitting on the couch, talking on the phone. Her voice came out clear from the speakers. Relax, Brittany. In 6 months maximum, the old woman kicks the bucket or we put her in a nursing home. This house is worth about $800,000. The other properties she has? No idea what they are worth. But the old notary did not want to tell us. But it does not matter. When it is ours, we sell everything and go to Miami. Lucas already signed the papers I prepared. The idiot does not read anything I put in front of him. The silence that fell in that room could have been heard in the entire neighborhood. Tiffany turned white, then red, then purple. What is this? She whispered. This, I said calmly, is the truth. I changed to the next video. Tiffany in my bedroom, opening drawers, photographing documents. The date, 2 months ago, then another. Tiffany talking to her sister Brittany. I almost have everything. Her deeds, her accounts. The old woman keeps everything in that old desk. Is she that stupid? She thinks no one is watching her. Gasps filled the room. Jessica had her hand over her mouth. Ashley had dropped her glass. The eggnog spilled on the floor. This is not. I did not, Tiffany stammered. Did not what? Is it not you? I played the next video. Because your face looks very clear here. This one was from November 15th. Tiffany and Lucas in the living room, talking. Are you sure this is going to work? My son asked. Trust me, baby. Your mom is old. She is not going to check anything. And when she does, it will be too late. These properties are worth a fortune. And if she gets mad? And what can she do? She is a lonely old woman. Without education, without important friends. No one is going to believe her if she says anything. The frozen video showed my son's face nodding. Lucas had stood up, trembling. Mom, you what, Lucas? My voice did not tremble. Are you going to tell me this is not what it looks like? He did not answer, because he could not deny what everyone had just seen and heard with their own eyes and ears. I played the next video, and the next, and the next. 6 months of evidence. Tiffany insulting me when she thought no one was there, calling me a ridiculous old woman, a nuisance, dead weight. Tiffany planning with Lucas how to convince me to sign a power of attorney. Tiffany telling Jessica that I was losing my mind and that they needed to take control before I did something stupid with her money. Jessica screamed. I did not know she was recording everything. She told me you were bad. And you believed her without asking me? I confronted her. I am your mother, Jessica. Your mother. And you chose to believe a stranger. Jessica started to cry, but I did not care about her tears anymore. I signaled Mr. Henderson. He stood up, perfectly pressed gray suit, leather briefcase in hand. Good evening, everyone. My name is Julian Henderson. I am a public notary and attorney here in the city, and I have been Eleanor's legal representative for 30 years. All eyes turned to him. I am here tonight as a witness to the events you are witnessing, and also to inform you of some things you perhaps do not know about Mrs. Eleanor. He opened his briefcase. He took out documents. Mrs. Eleanor is the owner of 7 properties in the metropolitan area. He began to read addresses and values. One in the suburbs, valued at $850,000. One in the downtown district, valued at $1.2 million. One near the park, $600,000. 2 condos in the fashionable district, valued at $750,000 each, and 2 commercial spaces downtown, valued at $900,000 each. He paused. The silence was absolute. In total, Mrs. Eleanor's real estate portfolio amounts to $6 million. Gasps, murmurs. Jessica had let herself fall onto the couch. Furthermore, continued Mr. Henderson, 3 weeks ago, a fraudulent transfer request was presented in my office for 2 of these properties with forged documents, with Mrs. Eleanor's forged signature, in the name of Mr. Lucas Smith and Mrs. Tiffany Smith. Tiffany tried to run toward the door, but Mr. Davis was blocking it. Not so fast, ma'am. Real estate fraud is a felony, and I have here a preliminary arrest warrant signed by a judge. Tiffany screamed. This is a trap. She set a trap for us. A trap? I shouted for the first time. A trap is protecting myself from robbery? A trap is recording what you said in my own house? I approached her. We looked face to face. You came to this house looking for money. Not love. Not family. Money that I built with 40 years of work. And you convinced my son to betray me, to rob me, to try to take everything from me. That house you do not need, exploded Tiffany. You are a lonely old woman. Why do you want so much? Because it is mine. My voice was ice. Because I earned it. Because you are nobody to decide what I deserve to have or not. I turned toward the whole family. 40 people in complete shock. You too. Everyone. You believed that because I am old, because I am kind, because I cook and clean, I am stupid. You believed you could step on me, use me, rob me. I looked at Jessica. You, Jessica, my own daughter, betrayed me for crumbs that Tiffany promised you. Jessica sobbed. Mom, I did not know that. Yes, you knew. You just chose not to see, because it was convenient for you. I looked at Ashley, at the cousins, at everyone, and you laughed when she humiliated me, when she called me useless in front of everyone. You laughed. No one dared to look me in the eye. I took an envelope out of my apron. I opened it. Inside were documents. This, I said, holding up the paper, is my new will, signed before a notary 2 days ago. Mr. Henderson nodded, confirming it. Lucas Smith and Tiffany Miller Smith, completely disinherited, $0. Lucas let out a sob. Jessica Smith, disinherited. $0, Jessica screamed. Mom, no. Yes, because family does not betray, family does not steal, and you ceased to be my family the day you decided my life was worth less than my money. I held up another document. My properties will be divided like this. 50% for my granddaughter Chloe, the only one who never saw me as a wallet with legs. Chloe, sitting on the stairs, had tears in her eyes. 25% for the Women's Shelter Foundation, which helps female entrepreneurs get capital for their businesses. 15% for Jane and Mary. I pointed to 2 older ladies who were in the kitchen, my helpers for 20 years, for their loyalty and genuine affection, and the remaining 10% for the St. Vincent Senior Center, so that no other woman my age is abused by her family. The silence was tomb-like. I took out another envelope. This one I gave directly to Tiffany. Your Christmas present. Tiffany opened it with trembling hands. Inside were 2 documents. The first is an eviction notice. You have 48 hours to get out of my house with all your things. The second is a criminal complaint for attempted fraud, document forgery, and extortion. Mr. Davis filed it this morning. The hearing is on January 8th. Tiffany collapsed on the floor. Lucas approached me. His eyes were red. Mom, please. I am sorry. I let myself be manipulated. But I am still your son. I looked at him. This 42-year-old man, who was once my baby, my boy, my pride, and I felt nothing. Lucas, you stopped being my son the day you signed those papers to rob me. The day you looked away while your wife humiliated me. The day you chose money over your own mother. But nothing. Family is more than blood. It is respect. It is loyalty. It is true love. And you gave me none of that. I walked away from him. Mr. Henderson and Mr. Davis escorted Tiffany toward the door. Remember, said the lawyer, 48 hours. If you haven't vacated, we will return with the police. The family began to leave, one by one, in silence, ashamed. Jessica approached before leaving. Mom, you are never going to forgive me. I do not know, Jessica. Maybe someday. But not today. Today I just want you to leave. She left crying. When everyone had gone, only Chloe, Mr. Henderson, Jane, Mary and I remained in that living room full of food no one had tasted. Chloe hugged me tight. Grandma, I am so proud of you. For the first time in months I allowed myself to cry, but not from sadness, from relief. The next 2 days were like being in the eye of a hurricane, a heavy silence while the final storm gathered. Lucas and Tiffany did not leave the second floor all of December 25th. I heard their shouting arguments, her blaming him blaming her, the sound of love rotting in real time. On the morning of the 26th, Lucas came down alone. He had deep dark circles. He hadn't slept. Mom, can we talk? I was in the kitchen making coffee. The aroma filled the space. That smell that always made me feel at home. Speak. He sat at the table. He fiddled with his hands. I know I messed up. I have no excuse. I got carried away by Tiffany, by the promises, by the idea of having easy money. I kept stirring the coffee without looking at him. But Mom, I am your son, your only son. Are you really going to throw me out of your life like this? I turned off the stove. I sat across from him. Lucas, do you know how much time I spent building all this? How many nights I fell asleep with my hands bleeding from sewing so much? How many times I ate only bread and soup to save $50? He did not answer. 40 years. 40 years of sacrifice. To build something. To leave you something. And you? You wanted to take it without deserving it, without earning it. Worse still, stealing it from me while I was still alive. It was a mistake. No, Lucas, a mistake is forgetting someone's birthday. Forging documents to rob your mother is not a mistake. It is a decision you made consciously. Tears began to roll down his cheeks. So what then? I do not have a mom anymore? My chest tightened, because despite everything, a part of me, that maternal part that never dies completely, wanted to hug him, tell him everything would be fine, forgive him. But another part, the part that survived 40 years in a cruel city, the part that built a fortune from nothing, that part knew there were unforgivable things. Lucas, I am not going to close the door on you forever, but I am not going to open it either until you show, with actions, not words, that you recovered your dignity, that you recovered your manhood, that you returned to being the man I raised, not the puppet Tiffany turned into her accomplice. And how do I do that? Start by taking responsibility, by facing the consequences of your acts, by building your own life without expecting me to give you everything. He wiped his tears with the back of his hand. And if I do it, if I change, will you forgive me? Maybe. Time will tell. But forgiveness does not erase consequences, Lucas. The will stays as it is. The properties are distributed as I decided. That is not going to change. He nodded slowly. He stood up and walked toward the door. Mom, one last thing. What? I am sorry. I truly am sorry. I did not answer. Because words are cheap, and I was no longer buying. On December 27th at 4 in the afternoon, the moving truck arrived. A large van, 3 men carrying boxes. Tiffany supervised everything with a face of contained fury. She did not speak a word to me. She did not look at me once. Lucas carried boxes in silence. He looked 10 years older. At 7 at night the truck left, with all their things, with their dreams of robbing me. Lucas remained standing in the doorway. He looked at me one last time. Goodbye, Mom. Goodbye, Lucas. The door closed. And for the first time in 8 months, my house felt mine again. That night, Chloe stayed with me. We ordered pizza. We sat in the living room watching old movies. She curled up against me like when she was a child. Grandma, are you sure about this? About disinheriting them? Completely sure. And if one day you regret it? Honey, I have already regretted many things in life. Getting married so young, not studying for a degree, not traveling more. But this, recovering my dignity, of that I will never regret. Chloe smiled. You are the strongest woman I know. I am not strong, honey. I am just tired of being weak. The following days were strange. Good, but strange. The house was silent. There were no more screams, no demands, no snubs at 6 in the morning. I woke up at whatever time I wanted. I made my breakfast without haste. I sat on the patio reading a book I had bought years ago and never had time to open. Jane and Mary came 3 times a week, not to clean my house, but to drink coffee with me. They had become real friends. Mr. Henderson visited me to finalize legal details. He explained that the criminal process against Tiffany would take its course, that she would probably face 2 to 6 years in jail for fraud. And Lucas? I asked. He did not sign the fake documents. Technically, he is not criminally responsible, but the judge could call him as an accomplice if Tiffany denounces him, which she probably will do to reduce her sentence. Let him face what he has to face, I said. Jessica tried to call me 7 times in a week. I did not answer any calls. Finally, she appeared at my door on January 5th. Mom, please, talk to me. Let me explain. I looked at her through the gate. My daughter, my baby, the girl I raised with as much love as Lucas. There is nothing to explain, Jessica. You chose your side. Now live with that decision. But I am your daughter, and I am your mother. The mother who raised you alone after your father died. The mother who worked 2 shifts to pay for your college. And when you needed me, I was there. But when I needed you, where were you? She did not know how to answer. Go away, Jessica. When you are ready for a real apology, not just empty words, then we talk. But not today. She left crying, and although it hurt, I did not open the door. On January 10th, I received a call from my accountant. Mrs. Eleanor, the deposits for the rents on your properties arrived this month. $4,000 in total. Thank you, Mr. Reynolds. Do you want me to transfer them to you as usual? No. This month I want you to donate $2,000 to the Women's Shelter and another $1,000 to the St. Vincent Senior Center. The rest can stay in the account. Perfect. Anything else? Yes. I want you to look for a condo in the city, maybe near the park. 2 bedrooms, well lit, with a balcony, if possible. There was a pause. Are you going to move, ma'am? Yes, Mr. Reynolds. It is time to start over. On January 15th, I signed the sale of the suburban house. $850,000. A young couple with 2 children bought it. They loved the oak tree in the yard. I told them its story, how William planted it, how it grew every year. We are going to take care of it, the wife promised, as if it were ours. That is the only thing I ask. On February 1st, I moved into a beautiful condo downtown. 10th floor, huge windows, balcony with a view of the city skyline. Chloe helped me with everything. We bought new furniture, modern but comfortable. I painted the walls light colors. I filled the balcony with plants. It was my space, only mine, without ghosts, without painful memories. On February 14th, Valentine's Day, I received a message from Lucas. Mom, I know you do not want to see me. I understand. I just wanted to tell you that Tiffany and I got divorced. You were right about everything. I lost my way, but I am going to find it again. I promise you. I love you. I did not answer. but I saved the message. On March 8th, International Women's Day, I was invited to give a talk at the women's shelter. 40 women from diverse backgrounds, all entrepreneurs, all fighters. I told them my story, not the edited one, the complete one. I told them about the betrayal, about the abuse, about how I was about to give up, and I told them how I got up. At the end, a woman of about 50 approached crying, "Thank you, ma'am. I was about to sign my whole house over to my son. But after hearing you, I am not going to do it anymore." I hugged her tight. Never give away your dignity for fear of loneliness. It is better to be alone than in bad company. On March 21st, the first day of spring, I enrolled in painting classes. Something I always wanted to do, but never had time. Turned out I had talent. My teacher said I painted with soul. I painted the oak tree from my old house. I painted the mountains of Kentucky. I painted a young woman with a suitcase, arriving in a big city, with fear in her eyes but fire in her heart. It was me. At 25, before everything, time does not cure everything, but it does teach you that surviving is not just breathing. It is choosing to live with dignity. December 2024 arrived with that particular smell of the city in winter. A mix of roasted chestnuts, hot cocoa, and the chill that announces the holidays. Today is December 24th. Exactly 1 year has passed since that Christmas dinner that changed everything. I am in my condo, on the balcony, with a cup of hot chocolate in my hands and a wool blanket over my shoulders. The afternoon sun paints the sky orange and pink. I am not alone. Chloe is in the kitchen preparing cider. Jane and Mary arrived an hour ago with pumpkin pie and bread from the market. Mr. Henderson will come later with his wife. And I also invited 3 women I met at the women's shelter. Women who, like me, rebuilt their lives after their own families tried to destroy them. This is my family now, not the one of blood, the one I chose. In these 12 months, many things happened. Tiffany faced trial. She was declared guilty of fraud and attempted theft. She was sentenced to 4 years in prison. She appealed, but lost. Now she serves her sentence in a state penitentiary. Lucas was not criminally processed, but the scandal ruined his reputation. He lost his job. He had to move to a small apartment on the outskirts. He sells insurance door to door. He wrote me 32 times this year, long letters, apologizing, explaining, begging. I answered 3 times. Short answers, without promises. In August, when I turned 69, he appeared at my door with a chocolate cake, my favorite. I let him in. We drank coffee. We talked like we had not done in years. I did not forgive him, but I left the door ajar. Jessica also tried to get close. Slower, more cautious. In September, she came with her kids, my grandkids. I had not seen her in 9 months. "Mom, I do not come to ask for money, nor inheritance, nor anything. I just wanted to tell you I am sorry, truly, and that even if you reject me, I am going to keep trying." We played with the kids all afternoon. We did not talk about what happened, but she washed the dishes without being asked. And when she left, she gave me a long hug. Small steps. That is all I can give for now. I invested the money from the sale of the house in the Fund for Women Entrepreneurs. So far, we have supported 83 women, 83 warriors who now have their own businesses. I also bought a small cabin in Kentucky. In my hometown, I go every 2 months. I stay a week. I walk the streets where I grew up. I visit the few childhood friends who still live there. I eat at the local diner, and I remember who I was before becoming a mother, wife, victim, warrior. I was Eleanor, just Eleanor. And that is enough. The painting classes became my therapy. I painted so much this year that my teacher suggested doing a small exhibition, Women Who Do Not Break. The show was called 15 Paintings. 15 stories of women who survived. My grandmother, my mother, me, Jane, Mary, the women from the shelter. They all sold. The money went to the women's shelter. I also started writing a book. It is called The Old Woman Who Was Not Useless. I tell my complete story, without filters, without sweetening anything. It is already 200 pages. Chloe says I should publish it, that there are millions of women who need to read it. Maybe I will, maybe not. For now, writing is enough. In November, I started going out with someone. His name is Arthur. He is 72 years old, a widower. He was an architect all his life. We met at a lecture on cultural heritage at the Art Museum. It is not a movie romance. There are no fireworks or dramatic declarations. It is comfortable. We have breakfast together on Sundays. We go to the movies. We talk about everything and nothing. When I told him my story, he did not judge me. He did not pity me. He only said, "How strong you are." And for the first time in my life, I believed someone when they told me that. Today, on this balcony, watching the sunset over the city, I allow myself to take stock. Did I lose things? Yes. I lost the illusion of a perfect family. I lost the house where I raised my children. I lost the naivety of believing that family love is unconditional. Did I gain things? Also, I gained dignity. I gained peace. I gained the certainty that I can survive anything. And I gained something more important. I gained myself back. Chloe comes out to the balcony with 2 cups of hot cider. "Grandma, almost everyone is here. Ready for dinner?" "Ready." I stand up. I adjust the garnet necklace that was my mother's, the same one I put on that night a year ago. We enter the apartment. There is laughter, soft jazz music playing, the smell of cinnamon and roasting turkey. And for the first time in a long time, I feel completely at home. Before sitting down to dinner, I raise my glass of cider. I want to make a toast. Everyone goes quiet and raises their glasses, for the women who survive, for those who fall and get up, for those who learn to say no, for those who build their empires in silence and defend them with dignity, and for those who understand that respect is not begged for, it is commanded. Cheers. The glasses clink. Laughter fills the space. And I, Eleanor Smith, 69 years old, born in rural Kentucky, who arrived in Chicago with a suitcase and a dream, who built a fortune of $6 million, who was betrayed by her own blood and refused to be destroyed. I smile, because I learned the most important lesson of my life. True wealth is not in what you possess. It is in what you do not allow them to take away. And no one can take away your dignity if you do not hand it to them. Final reflection. If you reached this far, to the end of this story, it is because something resonated in your heart. Maybe you too have been betrayed by someone close. Maybe they have also made you feel invisible, useless, a nuisance. Or maybe you simply recognize the strength needed to get up after those you love most push you to the ground. I want you to know something. You are not alone. There are millions of Eleanors in the world. Women who built empires in silence, who endured abuse with their heads held high, who decided one day that enough was enough. And if you are one of them, I want to tell you, you are stronger than you think. You are worth more than what they have told you. And never is it too late to reclaim your life. You do not have to have $6 million to be valuable. You do not have to have a great revenge plan to be powerful. You just have to make a decision. Choose yourself. Because self-love is not selfishness, it is survival. If this story touched your heart, if it made you reflect, if it reminded you of your own strength, leave me a comment telling me where you are watching from. Write your country, your city, and tell me, have you ever had to defend your dignity like Eleanor did? Like if you believe more women need to hear stories like this. And subscribe to the channel to keep sharing stories of women who refuse to be stepped on. Because these stories are not just entertainment. They are reminders that strength has no age, and that never is it too late to write your own ending. See you in the next story. Take care of yourself, and remember, your dignity is not for sale.